Today, we will be discussing the movie V for Vendetta, directed by James McTague. I would like to mention some of the themes that we have encountered in this movie. We see freedom, power, and evil as our major three themes. Evil and power are closely related together in this movie, as V, the main character, is a terrorist that gains power over the country by his evil plan. Evil and power are the effects of freedom because V's intended plan goes well, therefore causing him to succeed. A major theme is also evil versus evil, because at the basic level, V is still killing people instead of disarming them, and also taking people hostage and forcefully taking over buildings. Theoretically speaking, V is more of a terrorist than an anti-hero, because the only person that he bothers to help is Evie. Although, in the movie, V is shown as a protagonist, it still doesn't make sense since he does some pretty messed up stuff and kills multiple people. But while a lot of stuff V does is seen as evil, it can be seen as a vindication for what the government did to him. Everything that V does is in a pursuit of freedom, while some of what he does is selfish. He ends up helping the country as a whole, ending the rule of all-powerful tyrannical government. I also want to talk about us seeing a lot of conflict in the movie as well. For example, when Evie, at first, is horrified by V, but soon after, she realizes that she's safer with him than she is with the mess of a government that has been formed. She may realize that she's safer with him, but also dislikes him at the beginning because he technically kidnapped and tortured her, and is indoctrinated into liking him because she has a savior complex. Also, at the end, the entire city rallies to V's cause and takes on the government, causing it to lose its power.
Throughout the film, we see many symbols, the biggest one being the Guy Fawkes mask that V wears. The masks serve multiple purposes. The first is to hide V's burnt face from the world and to conceal his identity. He covers his entire body to hide his burns that he got when he escaped the government testing facility. However, the mask also has another meaning. Guy Fawkes was also an anti-government individual that wanted to blow up a parliament building, but on November 5th, 1605, was captured by authorities and failed. By wearing a mask made in his likeness, V carries on Guy Fawkes' legacy in a way, and carries out the plan that he couldn't by blowing up the parliament building on the 5th of November. V's name itself is also a symbol. He took on the name when he was at a government detention facility and experimenting center, and the torture and pain he endured there made him forget who he was. His new name was the letter of his cell, V, and it serves to remind him every day of what the government did to him, and it helps to keep him going. The roses that he has also serve the same purpose. He has a sort of shrine to a woman named Valerie that was in the cell next to him. She was tortured by the government for being a lesbian and is presumed dead. Her death is one of the big motivators for V to get back at the government, and he keeps the roses that she used to grow nice and alive, and gives one to everyone he kills as vindication for her. I also want to talk about some of the other symbols that appear in the film and how they help portray the movie's message and give us insight into the characters. A lot of the film is designed and shot to make parallels to 1984. Like the big screen that we see Supreme Chancellor Suttler on is very similar to imagery from 1984 with screens that Big Brother is depicted on, and can also be seen in other stereotypical villains like Emperor Palpatine in Star Wars. Suttler being portrayed like this makes him seem more villainous and powerful, and evil. The setting is also very similar to 1984. It's set in a dystopian future in which there is a tyrannical government that controls everything. They control all news and censor everything that could be seen as against them, or could cause insurrection. They spy on their citizens and even experiment on them in some cases. Suttler's rise can also be compared to Hitler in post-war Germany. In a time of crisis in the country, the people are looking for someone to save them, and this allows Suttler to swoop in and take power. Also, not unlike the Nazis during World War II, the government kills people of certain races or religions that they don't like and torture them at camps. The last symbol I want to talk about is the moment that Evie finally feels free. She is shot in a very similar way to when V escaped, except she's in the rain and V was in fire. These represent that they have finally escaped the fear of the government, and for the first time in their lives, they actually feel free.
The Guy Fawkes mask on our anti-hero V is a direct reference to Guy Fawkes, the anti-establishment terrorist who tried to blow up the British Parliament building in 1605. He was living under the oppressive and corrupt monarchy of King James I. Multiple references in the movie, such as his worship of Lady Liberty, send a clear anti-government message. In addition to the curfew citizens must abide by, V kills government officials right in front of altruistic propaganda, further reminding us that the society is corrupt and dystopian. V's calculated terrorist attack at the end of the movie happens on November 5th, the same day as Guy Fawkes' attack. All of these setting hints and direct references to Guy Fawkes serve to imply that the setting mirrors that of Guy Fawkes. And maybe the developers are trying to express their concerns about the modern-day government of the UK, post-2005 election. The film, as a whole, clearly aims to send an anti-government message through an admirable, yet questionable, anti-hero who might represent the people of the UK who are concerned about corruption.
The lighting is a crucial part of the movie, because it helps to set the tone of the scene. When Creedy enters a scene, the scene becomes significantly darker. This sets the undertone that an evil presence is among the rest of the cast. Another use of lighting is the white still area where Evie is kept, because it establishes that premise that Evie has nothing and no one to help her. Lightning is a very good source of lighting, because it is a bright flash of light, which is like glimmers of hope in the otherwise dark night, such as when Evie lifts her arms above her head and lightning flashes, which signifies that she has hope again and that V has given it to her. The music plays a big role in the movie because it gives a sense of dramaticism due to the actions that V does. For example, at the beginning of the movie, when V blows up the statue, dramatic music plays.
Wait, here comes the crescendo.
That makes the scene that V is actually performing in a more grand fashion. The music at the end of the movie symbolizes the grandeur that V had even in death. Each of the characters are supposed to relate to a different emotion. Creedy is supposed to represent the fear in the movie, Evie is supposed to be the hope, the inspector represents curiosity, and V himself represents the confidence that he inspires.